Hey guys, and welcome to episode 6 of the No Hype Zone. I am Seth. This is Lance. We are filming today inside of Alice Performance Training, but we're not in the office like we usually are. Today we're actually out in the open, so we might get a little bit of an echo. But we have some new technology. We got a mic. You can't see, but we got a little microphone set up.
In my seat.
So, well, hopefully this will work out for us. Well, it's a Saturday. Is it March? Shoot, I don't even know what day it is.
March
March
8th.
9th,
It's
man.
March 9th.
Come on, jeez.
We're getting in our resident baseball guy, hence the shirt, baseballism. Huge
Einstein
San
of
Diego
baseball.
Padres nerd, but he's going to enter into the No Hype Zone, and we're going to talk baseball to start. We've been itching to have him on again. We had some technical difficulties last time we had him on. That was my fault. The phone overheated, but now we're inside. It shouldn't overheat. I basically just want to say, Patrick, go, because he just wants to just spill it to everybody because he's so good at it. I'm just gonna give you the reins, man. Let's just go.
I'm just angry. I'm angry at the new, let's change baseball. Let's change the rules. Let's make the mound 62 foot 6 inches. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why do you want to change everything every year in baseball? Let's add more. Let's do more. Let's do this. Like, it just doesn't make sense. What do you remember about the World Series from 8 years ago? You know what I mean? Not somebody crashing into the wall or this and that, the score. You know what I mean? So it's not, you don't need to change the game to make it better. Nobody remembers replay other than if it works pretty obviously. If you look at the records, umpires get the job right at least 95% of the time. That's not good enough for everybody else. It's a perfectionist at home with their instant replay. So it makes sense to have some things progressively getting different, you know what I mean? But how about that running lane down the first baseline that they never tell you about? Because you're allowed 3 feet outside or inside the baseline. But when you're running down first base, you have to be within those parameters. They don't change the actual rules of where you should be running so that you can Machado them in the foot going by. Just saying, it's still there.
What is an extra line on the first base path? Like
it's
halfway
exactly
up?
what I'm talking about. So halfway
Explain
up,
that.
they have that baseline because that's where a runner is supposed to be running. He cannot run inside the first baseline, other than maybe to the dirt, you know what I mean, possibly, because look at where first base is, and it's set up inside the foul line. That's as far inside the baseline as you're allowed to run. It's inside within the base, and then that line is how far you can run outside the baseline. Unless you get a double, then you cut the corner and go around the line. So it's not exact, right? So people want to change, where the mound is at, as opposed to enforcing the correct rules in baseball, and I just don't agree with it. It's just, you don't have to change everything, man. Come on.
What does baseball need to change, or what shouldn't they change then, since you're going off on this one?
Well, for some reason they think baseball needs to be shorter than 3 hours and it needs to be a different game, a more progressive game, and they want more home runs. Well, if you want to get replay right in different things, you could put a Chicago basket out in everybody's outfield, or not have their fans allowed to lean over the fence. Like, if you can reach over the fence, a fan's going to reach over the fence, so then you have interference. Well, you're giving the opportunity for your fan to get kicked out of the game. It doesn't make much sense. You know what I mean? So little things like that. You want the game to be faster, so you're going to give the pitcher a pitch clock. But then when they're running in and out of the innings, they have to wait for the TV to get back from their commercial. So it doesn't exactly add up what you're saying you want from baseball. They just want everybody to have close games. So if you look at the divisions, we were talking about it. The Cubs division, what is it? NL East, NL Central. They're going to be a tight division. Everybody's in there. NL East, other than the Marlins, everybody's tight. They're in there. NL West, everybody's pretty tight. You know what I mean? Padres are still coming up. They're right in the middle. Dodgers have been hanging out on top for a while. Just can't finish it. Just saying. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things where I don't think we need to change the game much. There's not much that needs to be better. We haven't had any team win 2 or 3 in a row lately. Basketball. Just saying, it just doesn't. It's not the same. So why do you got to change everything? Answer that.
I think that like I was just telling you earlier, I just think that baseball is just trying to find that niche to get that casual fan in. Guys like yourself, which is a diehard, you don't want to see the game change. The purists don't want to see the game change, and I definitely respect that. Mm-hmm. But for the casual fan that comes in and maybe catch a game here and there, their biggest gripe is the game is too long. The game is there's not enough runs. Notice I didn't say points. Not enough runs. It's not enough drama. Like I said, it's no drama. The games are slow. The most exciting thing to me about certain baseball games are the commercial. So that's a shame. So now I'm falling in between. I'm not a purist. I'm not a casual fan. I got some history watching baseball. I got some teams I like. But yet and still, it's hard for me to watch a game for 9 innings unless it's in the playoffs. And I need to have that playoff energy in pretty much every game. I understand at the beginning of the season you're not going to have that, but we got to do certain things to make the game a little bit more exciting. That's all.
Talk about what didn't get on camera last time was, when a pitcher brushes back a guy, it's like, we're going to give the batter a hard time or a pitcher a hard time. Like, you're a pitcher, so give us that perspective.
Yeah,
they're always warning the pitcher, but they never warn the batter.
So apparently now every batter is entitled to be able to yell at a pitcher for pitching them inside or leaning over the plate or crowding the plate and getting hit or brushed back with a pitch, and then they get it, oh, why are you throwing close to me? And then the umpire warns the pitcher, hey, you're not allowed to throw inside. He didn't even hit him. You know what I mean? It's not like you threw behind the guy. It's not like you pegged him in the face on purpose. You know what I mean? You're throwing inside. That doesn't mean you have exact control. You don't practice throwing right under the chin. You throw a little under the hands, and when you throw hard, you want that ball to have a little tail on it to get that guy off the plate because he's diving out trying to hit a double. So the whole point is to brush him back. You know what I mean? You as a pitcher don't say, oh, the guy's crowding the plate. I better not throw him inside. And then you throw him inside, you lose one a little bit, you hit him, you throw inside whatever, and the umpire loses his mind. Oh, you hit him on purpose. And it's like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, let me throw inside on a guy. Then I have a chance of striking him out. Well, no, the umpire's in the same boat as everybody else. We want to see this game get more exciting.
No.
It don't need to be more exciting, man. Pay attention to the game. You just said it yourself. If I walk into a basketball game, oh, they're throwing the hoops up. It doesn't matter if they miss 12 times in a row because they're throwing a ball up and they're running back and forth. That's the whole point of baseball. You're bunting, you're stealing, you're hitting runs. The guys shift now. It's pretty exciting to watch the entire team go to one side of the field and pretty much play over the line. Like, that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? So let the guys brush them back a little bit. Let them police the game. You're going to have close calls at second base and different stuff you have to look at, close calls at first base and everything else. But I don't think you need to widen the bases.
No, you don't need to widen the bases. But I like what you said about the brushing back. We was talking about that last week. We was just saying, like, even with the bat flips, if you're upset about a hitter tagging one of your pitches and they're able to flip it, don't throw that pitch again.
Yeah,
if you're upset about somebody being close up, if you're upset with a pitcher brushing you back off the plate, then don't get so close to the plate.
And then it goes back to me and Seth's argument last year when, dudes are bat flipping and the pitcher comes off the mound and he's fist pumping. And it's like, yeah. So that's what we want to see. We want to see some of that emotion. I didn't like the bat flip even 2 years ago. We've been having this gripe go forever because I can't handle the bat flip. There's literally a rule that says, hold on, there's literally a rule that says you're not allowed to throw the bat. Okay, so we're flipping it instead. Joey bats, you know what I mean? All that's not a flip. So I get it. Like, that's the passion. In the moment, I can let them get away with something like that. Walk-offs, I can see that. You know what I mean? Fourth inning, you're losing by 8, and you flip your bat.
No.
Like,
Don't do that.
That should be the same. That should be the same thing as a flop. Like, you know what I mean? That's making the game look bad. But that's what people want to see. That's the excitement. So at the same time, like, I'm okay with a little bit of give there. But there's no reason we need to shorten games. I mean, because every time a baseball game goes to extra innings, I'm like, hell yeah, free baseball. Let's go. I'm not upset about it. I'm not leaving in the 5th inning. So there's a lot of people that do view that. Well, if you feel that way, then show up like everybody else in the 3rd inning.
But see, and
you show up in the
that's
3rd
just
inning,
bridge,
you get to see
Patrick.
the end of the game, and I get what you're saying. It's a long game, but that's the only sport that you can play 2 games in one day. Football, basketball, because that ain't happening.
Yeah, because more
That ain't
taxing on the body.
happening.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we play 162 games a year. We're playing for almost 8 months of the year, and you want it to be sped up. What you want baseball into the All-Star game and then the playoff race. I get it. That's how every sport's exciting. You don't watch basketball the first week of the season pumping up and down because Russ got 42 against nobody. You know what I mean?
I watch summer league.
So here's the difference. I won't even watch
games.
basketball until the
See,
playoffs.
I
There's
watch
nothing you can
everything.
do for basketball to make it more exciting to me before we
Training
get
camp.
into a heated game. So I hear what you're saying,
Practice.
but that's the passion. Yeah, it makes sense. Practice.
Video games.
Practice, not the game.
Highlights, YouTube, all of that. I just watch
All
it
right,
all.
so tell me this. Who's your favorite player of all times? Maybe and currently, all-time favorite baseball player?
Oh, I'll go first on this one. Grew up a huge Jose Canseco fan. Those of you who know me, grew up on the East Coast. Huge Canseco fan. I could name off every single Oakland A's guy from
Makes sense.
like 1990 and on. Jose, you're one of the reasons why I started lifting weights because you were so huge and like hitting all these home runs and whatnot and stealing bases, 40-40 club.
Yeah.
And then once you got traded to Texas, it kind of lost interest a little bit.
Ball went off your head, kind of got a little crazy.
Yep, remember that one. Then my next favorite player was Ken Griffey Jr., and he was my favorite player.
Bomb.
I wore a Ken Griffey Jr. shirt a couple episodes back. My parents got me at the Hall of Fame of Canton, or not Canton, I'm sorry, up in, where is that?
Cooperstown.
Cooperstown, thank you. They went to a wedding there, which is pretty cool. Now my current favorite player is Bryce Harper. I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay.
No, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it. I don't have a problem with it. How about you, man?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm old school. I used to like Tony Payne that played for the Pittsburgh. I love the way
yeah.
he got in that
Oh, yeah.
catcher stance
He had game.
with that leg
Hard-nosed
hanging out.
player.
I love that. Used to love Sandberg, Ryan Sandberg from the
Sandberg,
Chicago
beast.
Cubs. I was a Steve Sachs fan. I know you said name one.
Yeah,
Steve
nice.
Sachs. I always liked the infielders. Ozzie Smith from the St. Louis
hell yeah,
Cardinals.
the Wizard.
Yeah.
And just kind of want to bring up a point. You know, I think that we need to get that base runner. We need that dominant stealer, that thief in the game. We need that guy we know that's a
There you go.
perennial 30, 40 base stealer, season type guy. So that, Ricky Henderson. But those are my guys. Those are my guys that I like.
There you
Currently,
go. So
I,
the A's are going to have a fast team this year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They have the possibility of stealing a ton of bases. Hamilton's out there. He doesn't get on
Yeah.
base as much as he needs
I
to
like him.
steal a lot of bases. D.
Is he
Gordon's
still in Cincinnati?
fast.
Yeah.
There's no. He
He
might
got
be
rid of
on.
him.
He might be on the A's. I don't
Okay.
remember exactly which
Okay.
team he's on. But I've been watching spring training games, and you don't have a lot of stealing going on. That's not something they're practicing.
okay,
Catchers are becoming lights out, like really quick pop time.
okay.
Time the ball hits their glove to the time the ball hits the second or shortstop's glove. Their times are ridiculous. So you have to get a good lead. Pitchers are getting better at picking guys off. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So there's a lot of different details in there. That's why I like that aspect of the game. Like I said, DH is going to take over in both leagues soon. It's just it's what everybody's asking for.
Yeah, I
So I
love
can
that
understand
idea.
certain changes of the game. But you get into the playoffs, you're going to have a situation where that pitcher needs to go back in, or he needs a hit, or you have to pinch hit, or you need a stolen base, or you need a guy on second. So it's going to happen. That part of the game won't disappear completely. It's just less likely because people want to watch the regular season instead of watching stolen bases. So I imagine another 8, 9, 10 years, base stealers will start coming back bigger. Doesn't mean home runs will go away, but I think, because the game's doing so horrible and we build a new stadium every year, that the fields will get bigger again. Therefore, that'll become more of the game. You saw what they did in, Safeco Field, what they did in Petco. In New York, they're bringing the fields in because they made them just a little too big because their team couldn't hit home runs at the time. And now they're figuring out with StatCast and everything else that launch angle, this matters, this happens. So I don't think people need to lose sight of hitting the ball to the opposite field and what we should do with that. So you can use technology to work, but you don't have to get so far away from the game that we got to change the whole thing. So look at the greatest players, and they have to go the opposite field. They have to learn to hit the ball on the ground, hit and run certain times. So there's certain things that are good. It's not always good to hit the ball in the air. If you know what I mean, the base is loaded and there's 2 outs. Guys might be shifting in a position where you're being pitched outside, and they want you to pull it on the ground. So you need to go the opposite way. That might be a 15 hopper through the hole. You know what I mean? Tony Gwynn made a career out of hitting it through the 5.5
And that's what I'm saying.
So that's where I come from, and that's where I see the game. And guys get shifted, and the shortstop's playing in the 5.5 hole. Tony Gwynn could have hit it to either side of him if he wanted to. So they wanted to have been able to do the same thing to certain hitters.
Is that your favorite player?
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
There you go. And then you look at somebody like Ted Williams, same idea. He could pretty much tattoo the ball off the green monster, or he could hit it over the wall in dead center.
Right.
So it just depends on what the guy's pitching you, not what you're trying to hit. If you got a good pitcher, he's going to paint the outside corner. There's nothing you can do if he's not throwing you an inside pitch.
So my thing is this: when baseball has home run derby going on throughout the season, like I said, you got a couple of thieves in the league stealing bases left and right. You got a catcher like Molina, who was known for picking people off. Those are characters in the game. Those guys that can leap up and steal home runs, like my man from the White Sox a couple of years ago or last year, I believe. I don't know his name because he's a White Sox player, and I don't follow the White Sox. Can't follow the White Sox. But you just need those things. Like I said, a person. I'm not the purist.
Right.
I'm not the casual fan, but I know that you'll get my attention if when I'm turning on ESPN and ESPN's got a home run race, or they got, somebody consecutive hits. In the NBA, you got all these different streaks going on that ties the casual fan into basketball. Now, whether they mean anything or not, you got Chamberlain's records being broken left and right. Ted Williams, like you said, or somebody, 400, hitting 400, going 400 for the year. So,
Albert Pujols right there with almost 600 just over 600 number, right? So there are things there.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you like everything that's happening in baseball.
Yeah, I do. When it's being brought to the point, see, you ain't got to make that look to the camera because I know what you're trying to say. Okay, so this is what we got to deal with all the time. What I'm trying to tell you is that it just needs to be highlighted more.
Yeah.
It's already in baseball,
so
but
we're
it's
gonna download MLB Network for Lance. He's gonna get to see the
I
highlights
don't need
every
to
night.
download MLB.
You know what I mean? We're gonna have some good ones and some bad ones.
Watch
They have the
some
not top
thunderous
10, the
intentions.
top 10. You know what I mean? Once basketball season's over, he'll actually wake up and realize that baseball is a good sport and it's fun.
Oh,
He can
yeah.
just only focus on the basketball. So
I'm
I get
not-
where he's coming
I'm
from.
not
You know what I
one-dimensional
mean?
on
It's spring
basketball.
training and he's
Totally.
wearing an OKC jersey. It's just the way it works.
It's playoff push, a playoff activation. Okay, see, this is terrible. I lost my knees on that.
All right,
one.
thanks for your time, guys. I gotta go. I appreciate you, man.
I hope baby girl hit us a little, get runs batted in.
No,
Check
no,
the camera, see if we're still on.
So far, so good.
Okay, all right, we're still good.
The camera does say response slow though, so I might have done something to
No,
damage
you're
it.
fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Thanks. Okay, there's our baseball for the week, for the month.
And we
Yeah.
did good the
Yeah.
last show.
Yeah.
For him to sit up here and talk about us like I only watch basketball. If anybody watched the last show, we was naming names and
Right.
teams and situations and this dude here, just
But we get more of the nuance of the game that, the casual fan won't know. So
Right,
that's always good
right.
to hear stuff like that.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So-
So let's go NBA, man.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So
where do you want to start, dude?
Well, you wanted to start with, let's go into last week and then bring that into this week because everybody was kind of shocked to see the Celtics do what they did to Golden State.
Yes.
And
Yeah, they beat him by like 30 or something, or 20 or 30 points, man.
that was beautiful.
crazy.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it wasn't beautiful because I'm anti-Golden State. It was just good to see some form of parity in the league because
Right.
the whole season has been about Golden State.
Right.
And a lot of people predicted the Celtics as being one of the bigger threats to Golden State.
They're in fifth place right now.
They
in
are.
The East, yeah.
They are. But I just think with a player like Kyrie Irving, you can be fifth in the East. It doesn't matter where you're seated.
As long as you get to the playoffs.
You get to the playoffs,
Right.
and then you fight your way out of it. So with that being said, I like the point that you brought up about Golden. We was talking about how Golden State looked vulnerable, looked human.
Yes. Yep.
But then you told me, well, they didn't have Clay, and that put me back into reality. Like, wait a minute, this team
Rushing
wasn't
into the no hype.
right. Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't sitting around saying Golden State, I want to see them lose. I actually like Golden State when they play. They
I
are
do too.
very great type of basketball. It's very good. But just to, I'm thinking, okay, Boston is a good competitor for these guys. But now that you don't have Clay there, we want to see what they'll do with Clay and see if Boston will still be able to have that type of
Sure.
blowout. So I like that point you brought up.
Yeah,
about Clay.
I was going to say, Steph Curry, we never talk about him defensively. We always talk about his offense and his threes and how much range he has. We never talk about his defense.
Right.
And if he does play defense very well. But Clay, without Clay, no defense. With Clay, they beat Denver last night by, I don't know by how much, but Clay came in there, had
Yeah.
had 9 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Even
That's
Steve
for
Kerr
real.
was talking about his defensive
122 to
role.
105. I mean,
There you go. Yeah, against the second team in the West.
yeah.
Against your boy Joker. You told
Yeah.
the audience, go, hey, watch this guy.
Yeah, Joker's for real.
Yeah, I agree. So it's just one game. Is that going to mean, just what we said about that Celtics game, hey, it's just one game. That's not the end all, the be all. There's 82 or 81 other games to play. So that was fun and interesting.
And I think that also what it did was it made us kind of look at, okay, there's certain players on the team that are stars. So what we want to ask you guys out there is we want to name the top 5 most underrated, top 5 underrated players that are on great teams that make like the team become more of a championship threat.
The unsung hero,
Yeah, pretty much.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Clay, we all know that Clay makes that defense hum with Golden State, but without Steph, the offense doesn't do well. I'm not trying to throw Russell out there, but there was a report yesterday that said Russell Westbrook is the key to OKC winning the championship when we know that Paul George is definitely the MVP of the team, and I know that Paul George is the baddest cat on the planet right now because I'm being in hype because he's playing for my OKC, even though I got a Westbrook jersey on. But and you know, you got other players. You know, you look at Toronto. You don't. It's Kyle Lowry the reason why Toronto is doing so good. For San Antonio, even though Aldridge is the star of the team and Rosen is the star of the team, but you know, I don't really know. They got that boy from UCLA. I don't
even know much about San
I
Antonio.
don't know too much about San Antonio.
Yeah.
But you know, you got certain teams that's out there that's flowing, and there's always that player that he might not be the star. He doesn't show up on the stat sheets all the time, but he's the one guarding the best player on the other team, or he's the one doing all the dirty work. And without that particular player, that team doesn't have a chance. So we're interested to see some names that's out there, and then be able to say, okay, yeah, this is a good player, and that's not a good player. For Denver, you got the Joker, who's a star, but you got Harris and Murray, who definitely make that team hum. So, you know, it's not always your MVP candidate.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just with basketball. It could be with any sport, you know. Football, baseball, hockey, you know, any of those sports you guys want to come up with for your top 5 underrated players, so to speak.
You got Philadelphia. You know, that's their team. You know, you got Jimmy Butler. You got Ben Simmons. You got Joel Embiid. But you know, you got that threat in J.J. Redick there. You got Tobias Harris now over there. So you know, you got so many good teams. But you know, just reeling off of, you know, I think that was really that was a good point that you made about Klay Thompson not being there. So.
Yeah. Well, we've got 16 or 17 games left in the NBA. And the playoff spots are just about set. Like, we already kind of know who's going to be in there and who's not going to be in there. So we'll see what happens in the next, month left?
Well,
just
you got the East. You got Toronto in first. Well, Milwaukee in first. Toronto in second. Indiana in third. Philadelphia, 4th place. Boston in 5th place. So you go take the top team, Milwaukee, Giannis.
And let me say this too about the NBA. Like, in the last 30 or 40 years, no team that has finished 5 through 8 in the playoffs hasn't made it to the finals.
Okay.
So we can literally just say, hey, the top 4 teams, one of those top 4 teams is going to make it. You know. So
with
even
that,
though Celtics are in 5th place, you know, they could end up being in 4th place anyway. I don't know how many games behind are they from 4th place.
well, right now they got them. They are 9 games back. From 4th place, they're only a game and a half out.
Okay, yeah.
But with that being said, like I said, with the element of Kyrie on Boston's team, and Boston, they was 1 game away, or what? They just barely lost last year. They just barely lost
without Kyrie.
Without Kyrie,
Yeah.
So you know, and Hayward, I got to eat crow. Last week I was saying, you know, I was kind of piggybacking off of what I've been listening to on TVs about Gordon Hayward not being a starter on that Boston team. And then I looked at some of the games, and I guess I gave him the wrong it was a bad observation, because over this past week, from what I've seen out of Gordon Hayward, he is definitely an NBA starter, perennial all-star. He's definitely one of those players that's going to take that team to the next level. When he's on, that team is a whole nother team. So I'm pretty scared of Boston, because you know what you're going to expect out of Milwaukee. They're tall, they're long, they can shoot the ball. You got out of Toronto, you got great defensive team. You got a 2-way player in Kawhi. You got Lowry, who's a team leader. You got Serge, who can go out there and do all the dirty work. They got a very good team. You're looking at Indiana. Indiana, to me, is not the same team without Oladipo. Even though Nate McMillan,
Are they in 3rd place, 4th place?
they're in 3rd place, and
Third
that
place.
speaks kudos to Nate McMillan. He's a great coach. He's an awesome coach. But yet still, I don't think that they have that player that gets you over in the playoffs. You can be a good regular season team, but you need somebody to take you over the top. Philly is scary, but you got to make sure Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid is on the same page. And to me, the coach there is suspect to me. He has a good team, but I don't think he knows what to do in crunch time. Even though the team is in 4th right now, come playoff. Last year they were swept out the playoffs. I think that might be another situation. But Boston is a team I'm scared of. So those are the 5 teams in the East that I believe that pose the biggest, that are team that's going to threaten Golden State. You got Detroit, Brooklyn, and Miami. Kudos to Brooklyn for trying to get back in the mix. They finally coming up with D'Angelo Russell.
Yep.
Miami, to me, they're a Band-Aid team. I like Dwayne Wade. I love what he's doing. For them to even be in eighth, that speaks kudos to Dwayne Wade. Detroit got Blake Griffin over there playing. However, I don't see them getting out of the first one.
Right.
So, and just going into the West, this is what the heat is. You got Golden State, you got Denver, you got Houston, you got OKC. All of them is within a couple of games of each other. Golden State is definitely, the Goliath of the league right now. Portland, the thing about the West, which is beautiful, Seth, is that all of the teams in the West, any one of those teams can go there, except maybe San Antonio and the Clippers. Everybody from 1 through 6, Golden State, Denver, Houston, OKC, Portland, and Utah. Utah is one of the most scariest teams in the league to me. Spider, Ingles, Crawford coming off the bench, the big boy, what's his name, Gobert, he's poison. I mean, their home is like, my goodness. When you playing there, it's like that 6-man there is crazy. So, that's just my take on the West. So.
That's like the whole take on all the NBA right there. That was great, man. Like, I don't need to interject at all. You just kind of laid it all out there for us. Now, what about get out of the hype for a second? Let's talk about your boys.
Get in the hype.
Sorry, get in the hype for a second. Let's talk about your boys.
Okay, see.
Just for a minute. That's okay?
In the hype about my boys, we lost last night.
That's okay. You can lose. It's okay. But is it how they lost?
Yeah, how they lost. The bad part about it, I hurt my shoulder because I went to sleep and I streamed the game on my iPad, and I was in the bed like this because my wife didn't want the game on, and I had my Bluetooth, and I knew I had to go to bed, so I was, So make a long story short, I had the game on last night. Speaker going through my armpit, it hurts right now, and I just knew we had this game, and before I know it, Russell fouls out. I love Russell. I love him. I love him because he gives me 200%. He's must-see TV. If he's on, I'm thinking about what they're doing all the time. That's the type of player. It's like when Jordan used to play back in the day. I always wanted to see Jordan. I always wanted to see Kobe play, and Russell. But yesterday he made some of the dumbest fouls in the game, and it's 2 fouls that he committed cost him, eligibility in the game. He got thrown out the game. Paul George this morning is talking about the refs suck, and I think that's bad. But yeah, the refs are not awesome, but Westbrook made some stupid moves, and that's the biggest thing about Westbrook. That is Westbrook, he makes some silly decisions all the time, and I'm gonna keep defending the boy because the heart and the passion is there, and there's nobody I know that wants it more. To me, it's worse when you have the talent and you don't go out there and play your hardest than for you not to have all the talent, but you play as if you want it more than everybody else. And that's why I respect Russell. But with that being said, he has to calm it down in certain situations, because if he's shooting under 20 shots a game, OKC wins. It's the stats prove it. When he's shooting more than 20 shots a game, they lose. It doesn't matter if he puts up 50 points, 40 points. It doesn't matter if he goes 24 for 25 shooting. It throws off the synergy of OKC. PG needs to lead. Russ needs to be the assist Russ. My brother-in-law says it perfectly. We don't need scoring Russ. We need assist Russ. And I couldn't agree with him more. When he's facilitating and being a playmaker, that team is better. So, Russ, if you happen to be watching this, I'm speaking as a fan who is crazy about you, man, and I'm always defending you even when you're taking bad shots. That's all I hear is Russ had a good game, but he made bad decisions. Please stop taking these popcorn shots all the time. Your popcorn shot is your money shot, but just use it when you need it. Don't just, you get into it with Damian Lillard. I watch you sometime. I see you sitting there talking to who last night when they was playing, who they play last night? It's thrown off my head. Who they play last night? Clippers. Playing Patrick Beverly. Patrick Beverly started talking to you, and then next thing you know, it's personal with you, and you pull out these switchblades like you.
So he did it on purpose. Doesn't he and Beverly have a little bit of a history?
Well, yeah, Beverly tried to end his career, and Beverly is known. He's an irritant. That's the thing about Beverly. But again, respect to Beverly because nobody plays harder than Beverly. Beverly goes, give you everything. Chicago boy, he plays really hard. You know, it's tough out there when you play Chicago ball, playground especially. So, but with that being said, I just see Russell a lot of times taking on personal situations. The other team will bait him into, because they know it doesn't take much to get him going. And then next thing you know, he's forgetting about what the whole team needs to do, and that just hurts the team. So that's my in the hype about OKC. I'm crazy about him. I still believe that OKC has a chance to beat Golden State if they're playing together and Russell is playing efficient basketball. And efficient doesn't mean that he's hitting all the shots. Efficient means that he's only taking 5 shots a quarter, and he's making sure that the rest of the team is flowing. Jeremy Grant is a beast. You got Steven Adams is a beast. We got Ferguson that's finally came on as a monster. PG is you can't even speak on PG. You got and we got the bench Schroeder and Noel. They're awesome. So again, I'm in my hype because I want to see this team win. I thought we should have had it 3 years ago before KD left. So I'm out the hype.
Are you okay, man?
No, because that was a moment. I had an out-of-body experience right there. You know, you did that on purpose. I know you did.
Maybe a little bit, but you know, you're the resident NBA guy, so just like Patrick, you give him one subject about baseball, he just takes off with it. We'll give you one subject, and there you go.
So let's talk hockey then.
I don't have much to say about hockey because my Sabres keep losing, which kind of sucks. But watch for Calgary in the West and watch for Tampa Bay in the East.
Okay.
Those are basically the 2 top teams, and Tampa Bay is actually a fun team to watch. They got great hands. They shoot well. They got a bunch of shooters on their team. But I want to get more with our time that we have remaining because we don't have much time left.
Well, you don't see anything up here that you know, like.
Well, we can dissect. Once hockey playoffs start to come up, we're going to bring Connor on. He's one of our resident trainers. He's our hockey guy. So he can come on here and basically give all the information that Patrick just gave, all the nuance of hockey. So he knows all about that. I want to get into the combine was last week, and I think we get so caught up in the combine, like how big someone's hands are, how far can this guy jump, what is his shuttle run time, this, that, and the other. My thing is, can the guy play? What does he do on film? Like, Kyler Murray has been the biggest topic all week, you know, as we see on all the sports shows. You know, he's 5'10" and an eighth. It's really just mythological. You have to be, if you're below 5'10", you're a horrible quarterback, but if you're above 5'10", you're okay. Can the guy play? Look at the guy's game film. I mean, for goodness sakes. Lights out throwing. He can run when he has to. I wouldn't really call him a running quarterback. I'll call him more of a guy who, if the situation calls for it, he will run. If a play breaks down, he will run. Or if it's his play call, you know, hey, quarterback's going to run on this play, then he will run. So there's one guy that came out, Charlie Casserlet came out and was like, hey, you know, one guy told me that he did horrible in his interviews, you know, horrible whiteboard guy. But, you know, these teams have 15 minutes with, you know, these players to interview them. You know, if he'd have had one bad interview, but all the rest were good. It's kind of like saying, hey, you know, I have 10 kids. 9 of them are crack addicts, but one of them went to Harvard. Does that make me a really good parent? Like, of course not. So he has one bad interview, right? He has one bad interview. Does that make him like the worst interviewer ever? No, of course not. I know in that Dan Patrick interview during the Super Bowl, he was a little awkward. I saw that. That was kind of crazy to watch.
But what kid is not awkward right now? Today, all these kids they got their own personality, and they don't fit the old school, you know, mold as far as this is showing me that you're a quarterback. This is showing me. These guys, they all like little surprises. You know, once you get to know these kids, you find out that they got a treasure on the inside of them. But they all are not like the way we was raised in the past because the information that they get is different. They're smarter. They're more. They don't just sit up there and yes or no sir just to say yes or no sir. They want to. If the question makes sense, they're going to answer. If it doesn't make sense, they're not going to answer. And a person like Kyler Murray, did he go to Oak? I know he's smart because he plays 2 sports, and to be able to dominate 2 sports and to play the way he plays, you got to be smart in order to do that. as far as answering the question that he was asked, like you said, you can't discredit everything else he's done just because he didn't.
Yes, just for a 15-minute interview, you know, and that brings us into because we're here in Arizona, the Cardinals have the first pick.
Right.
We've been hearing all these rumors. You know, you already have Josh Rosen. Are you going to take Kyler Murray with your first pick? You're going to trade Josh Rosen away. I was in the camp of, no, you don't want Kyler Murray. You already have a quarterback.
Right.
I have a head coach who can build around him, who knows who's an offensive-minded coach. Let Rosen work in that system. Then you take Nick Bosa as your first pick, so you have 2 awesome edge rushers. But, you know, one client of mine was like, hey, man, you know, you're already in last place. Who cares? You're picking first. Blow the whole thing up. Start from scratch. Get Kyler Murray because you have the air raid offensive, one of the best air raid offensive coaches out there who can fit his system and then build around that. I'm sitting there like, yeah, you know, that could work.
That makes
Maybe
that makes
make
sense.
some sense, you know.
That does.
So Josh Rosen isn't a horrible quarterback. I think he could be a top 15, top 20 quarterback in the league in the right system, in my opinion. You know, so the draft is a month away. I'm still kind of up in the air. I don't know who Arizona should pick.
I'm thinking that when you said that, I like Rosen. Rosen to me is a typical quarterback.
Yes.
And like you said, we got a quarterback whisperer here down Kingsbury, right? That's then he should be able to make that system flow a little bit better. However, I was on board when we were talking about getting rid of Rosen to bring in Antonio Brown, because I thought that would be awesome to bring Antonio Brown in with Larry Fitzgerald, and then you have Kyler Murray who can develop with these 2 receivers, and you got this quarterback coach.
Yeah.
But now,
I don't want Antonio Brown.
I know you don't want Antonio. Well, the thing is, somebody's going to get Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown on the field is going to be a monster. Off the field, he's not. So the problem is you can't play into the diva games with Antonio Brown. You got to let him know this is what it is. This is how we're going to do it. This is your tolerance, and this is what we expect from you. And you hit these things, we're good. You don't hit these things, you don't. And it's none of that. You know, as long as you produce, you can get away with this, and then when you don't produce, then we're going to come at you. You can't do that to people.
But he's the kind of guy, in my opinion, if he gets in a game, he'll get you 10 catches, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and they lose. He's like, yeah, man, awesome. But if he gets, 2 catches for 15 yards, and they win, he's like, oh, man, like, that
I don't
sucks.
think he'll do that with Larry Fitzgerald. And that's my thing. My thing, if we didn't have Larry Fitzgerald, no, we would not get Antonio Brown here at all. But with Larry Fitzgerald is respected by everybody in every sport. Yep. It doesn't matter who you are. When you say Larry Fitzgerald, the first thing people think of is class act.
For sure.
He's loyal. He gives you 100. He's like the Walter Payton right now. He's a Walter Payton type of guy. And when you think of Arizona Cardinals, you think of Fitzgerald. And that's good because Cardinals for a long time did not have anybody that you can say, this guy is the franchise of the team.
And Larry, if you're out there watching the show, come on.
Yeah, Larry, we're huge fans of you. And I've always been a big fan of Larry Fitzgerald. Like I said, he's just a class act. And, boy, every time I see him, the kids, when I used to coach Pop Warner, he was giving out autographs. Him and Kurt Warner was like, they good. The Cardinals players have always been good. But make a long story short, I think Antonio Brown can work here with Larry Fitzgerald. And even if they lose, Larry can show them how to do this. But without Larry, So with that being said, if you're not going to get Antonio Brown, then why get rid of Rosen? Keep Rosen, keep Fitzgerald, keep the teams that you got. Keep the team that you got. Try to, like you said, go out there and go get Bosa. And then
Get some offensive linemen.
We need defense too, because when our defense is on, we're pretty good. I don't think we need to blow up the whole team. We got to figure out what we're going to do with David Johnson. David Johnson needs to return back to form the way he used to be. It's a few moves. We were hurt badly when we lost Uncle Bruce. Uncle Bruce was a good coach. I love Uncle Bruce. Him and his Kangos. He was a good coach. I wasn't a Cardinal fan, but I respected what he was trying to do with the Cardinals. And I think when we lost Calais Campbell, and we lost a lot of big-time defensive guys. You see what he's doing over there in Jacksonville. It would set us back. But with the right planning, we can get to where we need to be at least competitive. I don't know why we don't have more stars coming out here to Arizona and
Wonderful
Phoenix.
place. Scottsdale, yeah.
I
Can't
mean,
go wrong. Warm all the time.
Everybody want to talk about Los Angeles all the
Yeah.
time, but as far as I'm concerned, every celebrity should want to be out here in the desert in Phoenix. Yeah, our summers are hot. You can a few minutes away to Vegas, a few minutes away over to California, a few minutes away over to New Mexico, a few minutes over to Utah. I don't know why you want to go to New Mexico, but the thing of the matter is, you can get away. You can even go up to the mountains for 2 hours or an hour and get away from the heat. But the rest of our seasons here are beautiful, and you would think that we would have every who's who in every sport trying to come out here to play. Why? The Suns is a legendary basketball team. The Cardinals is the Cardinals. The Coyotes is brand new, but
3 points out of first or 8th place Cardinals.
Yeah.
Coyotes.
I mean, other than the Mercury and the Rattlers, those are the only two teams that we can actually talk about, or whatever's local around here. We got some local leagues that's a lot better than what we see from our professionals here. So, yeah, we need to change that. We need to change that where we attracting the masses, and that's why I was saying that. Also, if Antonio Brown came here and he was able to show out here and do good, maybe that would attract some other celebrities to say, "Hey, go out to Phoenix."
Say, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Antonio Brown should come to Arizona? Would you guys be happy about that? And who do you think they should take with the first pick? Do you take Kyler Murray, or do you take Nick Bosa, or do you take an offensive lineman, or who knows? It's all opinion from here.
What about your boy Haskins? You don't think that? I would not.
Take him.
My thing is, if we're gonna get rid of, if that's a quarterback,
but he doesn't fit the system.
Doesn't fit. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't fit Kingsbury's system. So
okay.
And with that said, that is all the time we have for today.
Awesome.
We're going to do a show in the middle of the week next week, because I'll be in LA next week with my parents.
So this is what's happening. We got the NCAA. We got a lot of conference stuff going on. We didn't talk about Duke and North Carolina.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? Yeah, we got Luke May and that boy was Chandler, number 13 for North Carolina.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Watch North Carolina tonight.
North Carolina.
Hopefully this will be up before that game happens, but let's talk about. We're going to talk more about North Carolina next week,
right?
As opposed to always talking about Duke, because they need some love as well.
Right. Especially with Zion not playing. So everybody, get your brackets together. The next time we talk, we'll be talking brackets. We'll be talking games, because it's by the time you come back in 2 weeks, we'll have the tournament should be going. So and we'll be we won't talk too much about the LSU fiasco, but we will be talking about. So you guys be ready for this. We will be talking about, should they play NCAA ball players, basketball players, because this is getting crazy. Nobody really was thrown off to hear about the guy from LSU, trying to get out there and recruit players or pay players. So it's certain things. And then we didn't talk about the PED use in baseball. Next time. So we're going to talk about that.
So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right.